My companion on winds that wander through my drifting thoughts. There lived a soul who lit my silent droughts. The road was long, so laced with solitude, but peace I found in your enduring roots. No words were said, no need for sweet laments. Our love would bloom in silence, tender shrouds. We cared not for the highs or lows of class, just sought a heart that true affection sprouts. When you appeared, it felt the void was gone. You were the answer, hiding in my doubts. My companion, your presence is enough, be it joy or pain, through passing clouds. Autumn in New York had painted the city in golden melancholy. Dry yellow leaves scattered across the sidewalks, while a soft chill in the air wrapped the city in a quiet, reflective silence. Outside a quaint old cafe in Brooklyn, Sophia Harper stood wrapped in a crimson coat, her hands tucked deep in her pockets, her gaze lost across the street. Her eyes held a restlessness, the kind that only comes when the heart awaits someone who may never arrive. Sophia belonged to one of New York's wealthiest business families. Her father, Charles Harper, was a man of influence and legacy. But in all the luxury, Sophia's heart remained hollow, a space untouched by the noise of privilege. She had lost her mother at a young age, and her father buried himself in meetings, stock values, and wine glasses. Sophia, though modern and outwardly bold, longed for something that felt real, a hand to hold that didn't weigh her down with conditions. Ryan Williams was from another world altogether. He lived in a modest apartment in Brooklyn with his ailing mother. He worked at the New York Public Library, earning just enough to pay for her medicines and utilities. There was no grandeur in his life, no expensive suits or polished shoes, only a soul that had learned how to survive quietly and live with grace. Their first meeting had been accidental, a moment nestled between bookshelves and whispered questions. Sophia was looking for a rare historical novel for her research. Ryan found it within minutes. His voice was calm, his demeanor respectful, and his eyes steady. Sophia wasn't used to that. In her world, most men either flaunted or flattered. Ryan simply helped and returned to his desk. That simple act planted something in her heart. Slowly, meetings turned into conversations, and conversations turned into companionship. They started meeting more often, at cafes, in parks, and at the same library that had brought them together. Sophia shared her dreams, her fears, and her loneliness. Ryan listened, not to reply, but to understand. He spoke of his mother, his poetry, and his hopes that often felt like borrowed light. In each other, they found quietness, not the absence of sound, but the presence of peace. Love, as it always does, came gently. There was no declaration, no dramatics, just stolen glances, thoughtful texts, and the kind of silence that only lovers recognize. The world around them faded until one day it came crashing back. When Sophia finally told her father about Ryan, the storm was swift. Ryan Williams, a librarian with no future? Is that what you think love looks like? Charles. Harper's voice boomed across the marble walls of their penthouse. Papa, she whispered, he gives me peace. He doesn't care about my last name, only about my heart. Isn't that what love should be? But Charles wasn't listening. The meetings were cut off. Her phone was monitored. Her every move scrutinized. And when Ryan found out what Sophia was enduring, he did the one thing he thought was right. He walked away. I can't be the reason you lose your world, Sophia, he told her one rainy evening just before disappearing from her life. You deserve to soar, not shrink. He vanished without a trace, and Sophia broke into silence. She would often return to that same cafe alone, order the same tea, and stare at the seat he once filled. Her world felt heavier now. Days turned into months. Seasons changed, but some wounds refused to heal. Then one day, Charles Harper collapsed from a sudden heart attack. Hospitalized and fragile, he realized that power and status could not hold his hand through the night. But someone else did. Ryan. Despite the past, despite the rejection, Ryan stood by Sophia through it all. He waited outside the ICU, arranged medicine deliveries, and stayed up at night with her, whispering strength into her silence. Charles Harper watched all of it, not with anger, but regret. He saw in Ryan something he never gave his daughter: stability, kindness, and selfless love. And one quiet morning, he placed Ryan's hand into Sophia's and said nothing. That silence said everything. One snowy evening, under soft falling flakes, Sophia met Ryan at their old cafe. 2 cups of tea sat untouched. Ryan looked at her and smiled the smile she had memorized. "This journey," he said softly, "it's long and uneven. But if you're by my side, even storms will feel like songs. Will you be my life's companion?" Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes, but this time they carried joy. She nodded, speechless. That moment held more than an answer. It held forgiveness, acceptance, and fate's quiet applause. So the boy with simple dreams and the girl with a lonely heart proved the world wrong. Love wasn't about status. It wasn't about class. It was about showing up when it mattered, loving without pride, and choosing someone even when it wasn't easy. They didn't need a fairy tale ending. They just needed each other.